What's up, everyone? The Beato goes on. Got my glasses on. Oh, I'm really kind of, oh, it's kind of bright here. Is that weird, everybody? Look at that. Mac is going to actually adjust the light on me here. You can bring it way down, Mac. That's pretty good. That's good. What's up, everyone? What makes this song great? Q&A. I did one of these probably about, I don't know, 5-6 months ago when I first started it. And there were a lot of questions. I know I'm going to get a lot of similar questions, but there's also a few 100,000 more people that are following the channel at this point. I want to talk, okay, first order of business. Beato book is on sale and everything on my website, 20% off for the next 24 hours, and the code is RB831. Mac is going to put it in the comments here. Good evening to everyone, too. I'm putting my glasses on here. What's in the book? Everything that you need to know about music theory and improvisation. Pretty much. It's 461 pages. You can find out about it. Go to my website at rickbeato.com. That's where you can get it. That's actually how I do everything. That's how I'm able to make videos for a living, is that people buy things like that, or my coffee mugs that I have that have all the modes of the major scale, melodic minor, harmonic major. They're all on there. Sup, Mensch. So I had a lot of people comment on the Paul Simon video, the Simon and Garfunkel video that I did. And I was trying some new things out. People saying that people saying that they don't like it when I'm not talking about the tracks in person. I thought it was something interesting doing the slides, and it would be kind of fun. But I think some of the things that people missed about the video, which is interesting, is that I actually was cutting between multiple versions of the song. I wasn't just playing. Sometimes when I soloed the tracks, it was a live version from the videos that I was taking. So it wasn't all. When I was on Pro Tools and I was soloing tracks, those were actually the tracks from the session. But okay, so some people noticed that. Only a couple people said it in the comments, which I thought was really, really interesting. That I thought it was obvious that people would notice that. So a couple things about it. There were 6 tracks. So the original recording was just that they used to do the overdubs against, that Tom Wilson got the session players for, were just 2 tracks. They had Paul Simon was playing guitar and singing on one track, and Art Garfunkel was singing on a second track. And then the overdubs that happened, there were 2 electric guitars. There was the bass and the drums. So there were really, 5 tracks, 6 tracks? Nothing. I mean, 6 tracks, that's all you need, which really kind of tells you something about if you have a great song, then you don't need all these tracks. You know, it's a lot of times that a lot of production techniques, especially modern production, and I'm guilty of it myself. There's a thing that I call additive production, where people just keep they will keep adding things, layering tracks and tracks and tracks. I've had sessions that I've mixed that were 150 tracks. It's unbelievably ridiculous. And you keep adding things to make up for the way that people play in the arrangement, that they're not that they are not actually playing their performances with dynamics, because that's really the most important thing. If you can play a performance with dynamics, whether it's singing or or playing guitar or playing keyboards or whatever it might be, you have to be able to play with dynamics, capture that on the recording, and then that makes your thing sound exciting. Instead of doing things after the fact, oh, I'm going to add a volume swell or a filter sweep going into the chorus. These are the kind of things that people do nowadays in modern contemporary production. If you look at Max Martin track or whoever, any modern producers will do these things. But it didn't, obviously people didn't have the ability to do that back in the day. So everything was done through performance, and they were done through multiple takes. Paul McCartney, when he did Blackbird, did 26 takes, I believe, of it. And the Beatles would do so many takes of songs back then. And pretty much everyone did. If you were dealing with 4 tracks, before you went on, and you had to always keep committing, right? So, because you would bounce down. So you do 2 tracks of something, bounce it down to 1 track. Then do 2 more tracks. If you have 4 tracks, bounce them down. And at the very end, many times later on in the Beatles, McCartney realized, along with George Martin, that they didn't have enough low end on the track, or if they wanted to get a big low end, McCartney would do his bass parts last. What's up, Ray? What's up, Tom? Good to see you guys. So McCartney would do his bass parts last many times. And that's why a lot of his bass parts are so incredibly great. And I wish that I could talk about the Beatles. Now, why was I able to get Simon and Garfunkel on there? Well, I'll tell you the reason. It's because Paul Simon owns his own publishing. He was part of he worked as a session guitar player and worked, I believe, in the Brill Building back in the early 60s, late 50s. Or it must have been early 60s, because he was 21 when he wrote that. He was born in 41, I believe. He was 21 when he wrote Sound of Silence. And from hanging out with all these songwriters, he realized how important publishing. Any of you that watched my video with Steve Vai, the most important thing Steve Vai said was keep your publishing, because that's what Frank Zappa told him. Yes, there's a discount for the Beato book. For everything on my website, 20% off, RB831. So that was Steve Vai's advice for people: keep your publishing. And Paul Simon actually kept his publishing, which is why now I couldn't monetize the video. Obviously, I don't monetize these videos, but he's not a blocker for that reason. And I actually found out that there are some more songs that I can use that I didn't realize I could use. I've been doing a lot of investigating with a lot of classic artists. Now, I can't use the Beatles. You guys already hear me talk about the blockers, but there's some really interesting ones, Rock and Roll Hall of Famers, whose tracks I can use that I have, and make videos of, which I think is really, really exciting. Mac, can you grab me that? Those things in styrofoam in there? Because those are, I want to show them that. Can I use Eric Clapton? You know what? That's actually a great question. I'm not sure about that, Playlist Master. I don't know if I can. So people have asked me how I get the tracks. Most of the tracks that I got, yeah, if you want to just open one or something. I need like a knife or something like that, I think. Whoa, whoops. Okay. So where do I get the tracks from? So I got a lot of tracks, and I've said this before. Those of you that have heard the story, don't get bored here. I started getting tracks in the early 2000s from people. This is when a lot of the labels would had the tapes sitting in their vaults, because typically when you finish a up until 2000, almost everyone mixed down to half-inch tape. So people would have these master tapes. By the way, I just saw Do Born to Run. That's one of the ones that I'm going to do, by the way, that I've wanted to do, and I can do it, I found out. So you'd have tapes sitting around for years and years, many, 50s, 60s, 70s. So they would send them out to local studios in LA and New York, because that's where the masters would be held. They'd be held in vaults. And they would send them out to places. For example, I worked at Sterling Sound in 1999, where George Marino mastered a record of mine. And George Marino at the time, or it was 2000, it was 99. George Marino had just mastered all the Zeppelin, remastered all the Zeppelin records. And he told me that Jimmy Page came in with all the tapes. And I said, what? The real master tape? The reels? What? He said, yeah, they were all in boxes that were kind of, you know, disintegrated and all this. And he'd had them in his basement, and he had the actual mix-down reels. But they had to bake the tapes. So you would bake the tapes so that the oxides wouldn't slough off when you play it down. And then you go through a nice set of converters, and you would convert it to, them to digital, right through, and then they would do the remastering. Well, they would do the same thing with the multi-track reels. Many times people would do stem mixes. This happened more in the 80s, but people would still do it in the early 70s, where they take all the, somebody asked, what does bake the tapes? I mean, literally, you put the tapes in an oven. I believe it's about 275 degrees for, I don't know, 30 minutes or something like that. And you actually bake the tape, and it actually makes the oxides adhere. They do it in an oven. It makes the oxides adhere, and it's really good to do only about one playthrough with it after you've done that. So imagine this, Zeppelin masters. I mean, but all the famous things they would do. They wouldn't do it for everything. You can actually look at the you can actually look at the tapes and tell if they need it at the time. By the way, so Mac just opened this. This is a Beato mug here. This one is this is what I call my cheat sheet mug. These are the modes of the harmonic minor scale here. So basically, if you buy this, everything's 20% off on my website. So you can buy this, and it'll tell you what all the different scales are. You know, ultra dominant, double flat 7, Lydian sharp 9, Phrygian major. It gives you all the formulas for them. So when you're drinking your coffee in the morning, right, and you say, oh, what's a low Korean natural 6? Oh, yeah, okay, 1, flat 2, flat 3, 4, flat 5, 6, flat 7. Okay, so have I done a Dream Theater video yet? No, but I'm going to do a Dream Theater video. Yes, absolutely, I will be doing a Dream Theater video. And maybe I'll have John Petrucci in it. So I need to talk to John about that. And I'm going to do an Avenged Sevenfold. I know I've been threatening to do that. I talked to Sinister Gates about it. He's totally down. I just have to get together with him and do it. Ken Andrews. I spoke with Ken Andrews about actually doing an interview and doing What Makes a Song Great. And he's totally down for it. For those of you that don't know Ken Andrews, he's a great producer, but he was the singer of Failure, which is a killer band. Periphery, yes, I have a Periphery video coming up that I got tracks from Misha. So that's another thing, is that people send me tracks all the time. Current bands, subscribers, people that work on sessions. And back in the early 2000s, I would go to studios and I would do trades with people for master reels. So they would typically be in New York and LA, and the labels would send out the master tapes, and then they would do stem mixes with effects. If they had effects, they would usually have the track sheets with them, and many times they'd have recall sheets with them from the mixdown. So they would either mimic the effects, or many of the effects were printed back in the old days in the 60s and 70s. They were printed. You print the reverbs and things like that. Jimmy Eat World in the middle definitely is going to happen, yes. So yeah, so that's how I've gotten them. So I started getting them way, way back when things started getting converted. And typically it was things like, I'll trade you a, so-and-so snare and kick sample for all the tracks on Nevermind or something. That was one of the ones that I remember getting where I had a famous mixer's kick and snare sample that no one had, And this guy said, I'll give you all of Nevermind for that. And I said, you got all the tracks? I said, do you have stems or multi-tracks? He said, multi-tracks. And I said, oh, okay. So that's the kind of, so that's the thing. You know you're right. Somebody just said that. Jesse, I'm doing a thing on You Know You're Right, because that's a great demonstration of Kurt Cobain's melody writing, which is absolutely phenomenal. So that's how I got a lot of these. Is they've been, I've had them for years and years and years. I'd say probably, probably 12, 15 years, something like that. I started getting them right when Pro Tools. So studios started going to Pro Tools with the Mix Plus system right around 99 and 2000 is when people started doing that. That's when the label started sending the stuff out, farming the work out around New York and LA to have studios. And they would just be, studios would be full-time converting multi-tracks from famous albums. They wouldn't necessarily do all the songs. Sometimes they'd have problems. And I talked to guys that would do that work. Sometimes some of the reels would be damaged, but they would try, and the labels wanted to really get the singles out there. So that's one of the that is how. Let's see here. Do I think there will be another quality rock resurgence like grunge? There will be. It won't be the same as grunge because it's very hard to create a movement. And yes, Opeth, I saw that. It's very hard to create a movement in music now because they used to be created. There used to be certain conditions that would happen. For example, that things that were going on in Seattle at the time. Seattle was a very isolated city in the Northwest. They had a scene. All the clubs used to have a thing where you'd go out on a Friday and Saturday night and you'd pay one cover charge and they'd have 20 different clubs that would have live bands. Okay, they had 1,500 bands in Seattle at the time. They had 3 radio stations or so that would play local music. And that's why so many bands were developed there. So the scene was able to kind of stay hidden for a time so that people like, guys would go from Green River to Mother Love Bone to Pearl Jam, and they would intermingle. All these bands would share players or people would switch from band to band. So you were able to develop an entire movement over that, and before people discovered it. Now anybody can go on, get a GarageBand loop, open up Logic, make a 4-bar loop and sing over it, and they call it a song. And back then, people used to actually have to go into a studio to record a song. Well, to go into a studio to record a song, you had to save money. And only bands that were really serious were ones that saved money to go in and record a record. I was in a band in 1997. We funded our own record, and we spent $20,000. And it was basically me and the singer from the band, Mark, that funded it. And I taught guitar lessons. I taught 50 guitar students a week, and that's how I put in my money. Mark was a waiter. He waited tables. I taught guitar lessons, and I taught 50 students a week. It was brutal. I mean, some days I taught all half-hour lessons. I mean, it was tough. And then we would rehearse every night, or every night that we could. And we would go in band practice at 11 o'clock at night, 11 to 1 a.m., and then go out and eat. Beato discount code, RB831. What do I think of David Bowie's more experimental Berlin years from late 78, 79s? That would actually be a really interesting topic for a video. That's actually a great topic for a video. I'm going to write that down because I look for things like that. That's a really, really cool concept. Anything like that you guys have, any concepts, leave them in the chat here. If because that's like a really specific thing, you know, a certain period of David Bowie, I think is really interesting and would make a great video. And these kind of things to me are difficult. It's almost more difficult to come up with those kind of ideas than it is to actually make the video, because I know the content, but it's, you know, in order to make the video, you have to have a good title. It's like writing a book, or it's like writing a song. You have to have a great chorus, right? You know? What's the most underrated band in the last 30 years, Dan? Oh, man. Most underrated band. Most underrated. That's tough. The Mars Volta? Oasis? No. The Cure, the Flaming Lips. Okay, those are some good ones. I have to think about that. The most underrated band. That's a great Spinal Tap for sure. Jellyfish could be. Rush, King's X, Porcupine Tree. Those are some interesting choices. The Pixies. Oasis in the U.S. Oasis was huge in the U.S. in the early 90s. From 94 to 96, Oasis was massive. They were the big post-grunge. That was another British invasion wave that happened during that time in the U.S. It was really, really big. Oasis was huge here, so don't be fooled by that. They were massively big in England then, but they were absolutely huge here. Now, you know, My Bloody Valentine. There's an interesting band that I love. Okay, I would say probably the most underrated band is Swerve Driver, who's one of my favorite bands of all time. Swerve Driver is, if you don't know Swerve Driver, you should check out Mescalhead. You should check out Ejector Seat Reservation. Check out Raise, their first record. Any of those records, Swerve Driver records, check them out, because they were an incredibly underrated band. They're shoegazer. They were kind of put in the shoegazer category, but they were much more rock than that. That makes 3 of us. Swerve Driver. There you go, Dave. Can I do a Wes Montgomery tune? You mean for what makes a song great? I could. You know, it's hard to find jazz. Jazz things don't have multi-tracks because they play them all at the same time. You don't really have multi-tracks on jazz records. I mean, they record multiple mics at the same time, but they're all playing together, which they are. I mean, to be honest, when you heard the drums on the Simon and Garfunkel, you can hear the bass. You know, the bass is part of the drum track because they're playing in the same room. When you open up, if I open up the Rolling Stones, certain tracks, you're gonna hear bleed. You just hear bleed. I saw that. What makes this song great? Swerve Driver. I've talked to Adam Franklin about it, who's a singer, and I want to do a what makes this song great about Swerve Driver. You know what's tough is that a lot of the guys from these bands don't have their tracks. They don't have their tracks. I just sent tracks out to a famous band the other day. That's a really famous band that I've actually done a video on, what makes this song great. And I sent, they didn't have their tracks, and their manager wrote to me. I won't say the band. And I sent 6 of their big songs to them because they didn't have them. They were unable to get them from their label. So there you go. Pretty funny. It's not even there's actually 2 bands that are on my, out of the 42 that I've done, that actually did not have their own tracks, and I sent them to them, which I thought was pretty ridiculous that they couldn't get a hold of it. But it's the labels, you know? It's the labels. They're the ones that are preventing them from doing that. Or, you know, a lot of times the producers have them, And you know, sometimes the bands will have falling outs with, will have a falling out with the producers, and the producers won't give them. It's so petty. It's so ridiculous. It's their music. Just, you know, why don't they have it? It's outrageous. The Verve. I love the Verve. Urban Hymns is an incredibly great record. And I would like to do, and I don't have the tracks to it, Lucky Man. If anyone has Lucky Man or Sonnet, I would love to do one of those songs. Let me know about that. Firewoman, The Cult. Oh, that would be great. My old band toured with The Cult for a week, and they were incredibly great. I love The Cult, and they were incredibly great guys. They were fun to to tour with. Ian Asprey's a really, really good guy. Bad Religion, Infected. That would be a good song. Does Eric Clapton in the 90s count as underrated? Can you sell like Eric Clapton? Yeah. The Doors are blockers. Although I have many Doors songs. I think I have almost all the Doors songs. Counting Crows. I love Counting Crows. Matter of fact, Recovering the Satellites is one of my favorite records ever. And if I was going to do a song on that, which I don't have any tracks, I only have tracks to one song off that record. Not that I need the tracks, but it's fun. I think it makes it more interesting. Adam Duritz, if you're out there, please send me the multi-tracks to Catapult, or what else would be a good one? Oh, Goodnight Elizabeth, or there's one other one that's unbelievable. It has great polyrhythms in it. So Flecktones, that would be great. More Rush, okay. I've seen a lot of Arctic Monkeys, people requesting Arctic Monkeys. That's definitely doable. And I've seen, you know, I want to do another Alice in Chains song. I'm a huge Alice in Chains fan, and I would definitely do another song here. There's a, Mac, what is that $10 one there? There's a question there. Can you see that one?
Up here?
Yeah, up at the top.
Brazilian rock.
What's the question?
Have you ever heard Brazilian punk rock? And did you like it?
Brazilian punk rock. Are they giving me any for example? No. I saw Jet City Woman there by Queensryche, which I really dig. I love that song. That's from Empire Record. I have that. I've thought about doing it. More Muse. I have a Jeff Buckley. Video ready to go that Mac has been working on the transcription. It's driving him insane. I'm trying to figure out how to talk about it, and Jeff Buckley has been requested a lot on here. I can't do Hotel California. Soundgarden is going to get another video. I saw Pauley in there. Garbage. I've seen a lot of Garbage, actually. I have to see what I got with Garbage. There's definitely going to be another Nirvana video. Deep Purple, I believe, are blockers. Carnival would be interesting. They I'm going to be doing some, Husker Du and Tori Amos. If I could find, anybody have any Tori Amos off the first, not her first record, but the record was Silent All These Years, I would totally do that. Anybody have those tracks? Send them to me. And I will do more Rush. I can't do Prince. Collective Soul is definitely possible. I need to talk to Ed, who lives here in town, the singer, and Ed would totally be down for that. I'll have Ed in the video. I need to remember to write him. King Crimson, definitely. ELO, definitely. Incubus, I did one Incubus already, and I am, I may do a video with with a couple of the guys from Incubus. Let's see, Amy Winehouse, Stevie Wonder, UFO, John Mayer. Yeah, John Mayer. I don't have any John Mayer tracks, but John Mayer would be a great, to do it with. Would be a great video. Yeah, Little Earthquakes record. That's the record. Thank you for the Tori Amos. Animals as leaders. I'm still trying to get Tosin on for a sounding off. I had talked with the place he went to school here in Atlanta about doing a live sounding off with him last year. And I'll have to just reach out to him. Screaming Headless Torsos, Dave Fuzinski.
Oh, yeah.
I used to play duos with Dave. We went to school together, and he and I used to play duo gigs together all the time.
My dad does gigs with them too.
You're kidding me?
At Berkeley?
Yeah, he went to NEC when I was there. Dave was he was an undergrad, and when I was I think he was when I was doing my master's, and he and I used to play gigs all the time in Boston. He's a great player. Love Dave. Great guy. Hilarious. Beardy Man. Yeah, there we go. Steve Vai versus Joe Satriani. But I'll have both of them in the video. Thank you for that, Magic Spiral. What was that? Some Porcupine Tree, Massive Attack. Okay. Not a Surf, 9 Inch Nails, No Doubt Kansas. I'm definitely going to do a Kansas. Peter Gabriel. I've done one Peter Gabriel. Some more Police, Elton John, Fiona Apple, okay. Journey, My Morning Jacket. I can't do Queen. I don't, Russian Circles. I did have them in my video, one of my videos. Those of you that saw that, I included Russian Circles in my Power Trio video. Devin Townsend, I've had a lot of requests for. Neil Young. You know, Neil Young is, he, I believe, owns his own publishing now. I think he owns all his own, I think he owns all his masters. That might be possible to do, Neil Young, and I would love to do Neil Young. Neil Schoen. Well, I will definitely do a Journey one, Ray, for sure. The Stones, I can't do. My Bloody Valentine, I'll work on. Allman Brothers, I think I can do. I have Allman Brothers tracks too. Is Jeff Beck a blocker? I don't know about that. John Frusciante, I keep seeing that. I see Joe Beam. I see The Cure. I love The Cure. I have, I've got some Cure music. I don't have any Dylan. I do have Cult of Personality. I have a bunch of Black Sabbath, but I don't think I can do Black Sabbath. I have Skinnerd. I'm not sure I can do Skinnerd. I'm looking into all these right now. Okay, Beato book, by the way, once again, I'll tell you the code. Anything in my website is 20% off. RB831, today's date. Buy one of my mugs. This is how I pay for everything. This is how I'm able to do videos, is basically through that. Or the Beato Club. How many of you know about the Beato Club? You can be, that's basically our version of Patreon. You can become a member of the Beato Club and support it. You get a lot of extra things that are not available on the channel. Go to my website, rickbeato.com, and look at it. Remember, Beato Club, put it in there, please, Mac. So, yeah, check it out. If you guys want to support the channel and you know, help with, you know, making some of these other things possible. Yeah, a lot of this stuff is going to take time to get the clearances to do these songs. That's the only issue here. And this is part of being a I guess music educator on YouTube, is that you know, there's a lot of work beyond just making the videos in order to make this stuff happen. You cannot teach people things without playing music. You can't. And the thing is that YouTube has made it increasingly difficult because of their really onerous content ID stuff. It's really, really, it's bad. I was reading an article somebody sent me yesterday. I was talking about it on a live stream where I'm sure some of you have heard this, but somebody put up 10 hours of white noise and they got 5 content ID strikes. White noise. White noise. That videos got taken down for white noise, right? And I know plenty of people that will play pieces and they'll get copyright strikes. My friend Nare Soul, if you don't subscribe to her channel, her YouTube channel is amazing. She'll play a Bach piece and she'll get a content ID strike when she's playing it live on the video or whatever, you know? She'll do that and she'll say, "Oh, I got a copyright strike." What? Well, yeah, because it matches because you're playing the same notes. I mean, it's absurd. And so many people do that. I mean, so many people have that experience where they play something and they get copyright strikes of it. Same thing happens at Twitch. Is that right, Alex? Does it really? Anybody else have that experience? They should have used pink noise. That's pretty good. I like that. They should have used pink noise. Okay. That's the right thing. I saw on here that the 500K thing, so my channel's going to hit 500,000 subscribers here. I don't know, probably in the next couple days or so. I think I'm at 498 right now, so that's pretty unbelievable, and I'm humbled by that. If I can be humbled, you guys know that I'm not a very humble person. Just kidding. So that's a real. I see Elliott Smith. I saw that. That was tricky there with the spaces there. You're like, oh, Rick's an old guy. I'll do all capital letters and leave a space between each one so he'll see it. Well, it actually worked. That actually worked. I see Muse there. I see Beck. But I can read the small stuff too. Springsteen's definitely going to happen. Tame Impala would be great, actually. No effects. 500,000. Yes, 500,000 subscribers is going to happen here in the next couple days, probably, something like that. So that's it. So that's about all I have to say on this today. So you guys are amazing, and you know how much I appreciate this. Go back and watch the Simon & Garfunkel video and see if you can see where I kept switching from different versions of the song. I literally used probably 4 different versions of the song. And people, I was shocked that I think I only saw it once in the comments. I was thinking like, what? Come on, I'm not even using this isn't even all the actual version. And a funny thing about it is that if you go back and look in the 60s, they played it in different keys. They would keep, Tom, you notice that. Man, they would play it a half step up, a half step down, a whole step up. It's like, what? It was pretty crazy there. And some of the overdub stuff. So I want to make one more point about this. Oh, Beato book here. RB831 is the code for 20% off anything on my website. I hate to be this guy that does that and everything, but I never do that pretty much, except on live streams. Tom Wilson, African-American producer that produced that record. He's the one that had the vision when the song started to get played on a couple of college radio stations in Boston, said, okay, I'm going to bring in some session guys and do this. And when Simon & Garfunkel had broken up, this was part of the video that you know, I thought was interesting, and when I was doing research on it, that they didn't, they weren't even together. He went and did the overdubs on there. That's where those parts, like with the electric guitar, when you're hearing it like, no. You know, then he's, then they go. They do that sus chord there on the B major, and that's all session guys doing that. But that is why, and you see Tom Wilson was with Zappa. He was a producer on with all these things, with Bob Dylan. That's unbelievable. His decision to go and hire those guys and do that, that's what made the song become a hit. It had already come out and did not do well. If it wasn't for that, and people can say, oh, you know, it's, you know, Paul Simon didn't like it when he heard it. But you know, there would be no Simon and Garfunkel. Think about that. None of the songs that Paul Simon wrote after that would have been hits. I saw The Who there. Everybody that keeps saying The Who. Yes, The Who are blockers. I can't do The Who, and I'm a massively big Who fan. Man, thank God for producers, Tom said. He's right. You are right. I'm not left-handed. My video is backwards. This is the stupid new YouTube app. They used to have it like this about a year and a half ago, and then they fixed it so that when no matter when you use it, when you use your front-facing camera on your phone, it would reverse it properly. And now they're back to the same dumb one that that reverses the stuff again. So I can't figure it out. You guys are amazing. Beato book, anything in my store, 20% off. RB831. Thank you so much. I got a new video coming out tomorrow. I appreciate it. And I'll go back through here and we'll put together a list of things that people suggested. And I saw Deftones in there. I don't want to forget about the Deftones. You guys are great. Thanks.